What was the incident at your school? Black kid apparently fisted a chubby white girl and put her in the hospital. At graduation, when said black kid walked up to accept his diploma, the entire graduating class put their fists in the air. This was middle school, by the way. For our senior prank, a few students actually grappled up to the roof of our 4-story high school, then rappelled down into the library courtyard, broke in with keys that they had stolen from the janitor, and proceeded to fill the entire hallway to the ceiling with books, blocking off the main pathway between the school. One of them stupidly went to their locker and the camera was able to identify them from the locker they went to. I have a friend who got expelled for planting a keylogger on one of the administrative computers in high school. Changed everyone's grades in his senior class to A's. Apparently they had no backups, or else he deleted them because he helped a couple people graduate high school that day. I believe he got caught after attempting to retrieve the keylogger by rappelling through a skylight. Edit: I can't remember why he had to go back for the keylogger, it's been a while. I can't remember if he thought it would be tied back to him or what. I think if they found the logger they might have been able to look through security tapes of who had physical access to that computer and found him out. Sorry, I don't have more details. Junior year. A sophomore boy put a sealed container of chicken noodle soup in an empty locker next to the chemistry room. It sat there for months, easily 5 or 6, until somebody thought about it again. It was brought up in chemistry class 11th grade, and our chemistry teacher took a pair of tongs to the locker and planned to dispose of it once and for all. His hands were too shaky that day, and as soon as he lifted it out of the locker it fell, spilling the entire cesspool that the chicken noodle soup became. He immediately ran back to his room, screaming, "Oh God! Shut the doors! Shut the doors!" and hilarity ensued. The smell was indescribable. Raw sewage, rotten chicken, fermented noodles all mixed into one. I have never and probably will never smell anything remotely close to it again. The smell permeated the entire floor and even seeped down a stairwell next to the spill to the classrooms immediately below. The day of the disaster, everyone gagged as they traveled through the halls. Luckily it happened during 8th period, last period before we went home. A hazmat team was called to take care of the spill, just in case there were airborne diseases. For the rest of the school year, the teachers lit candles in the hallways and in the classrooms, but the smell never left us. It stayed all summer and even into the next school year until it finally went away altogether. The chemistry teacher who dropped the soup is actually now my stepfather, and we recount this story at least once a year and laugh our asses off. It is one of my best memories of high school. Exchange student from Scotland went around fucking any guy she could. She was finally caught in a gangbang in the school barn with like 5 other students. Is no one else wondering what the hell a school barn is? It's the designated gangbang area. There was a big brawl in our parking lot with a bunch of black kids against a bunch of white kids. It was over drugs. The school went bonkers thinking it was a racist thing. Yeah, thank Christ it was only drugs, right? Senior prank consisted of dumping month-old fish into the air duct from the roof. They couldn't figure out what was going on at first, school was closed for a week, hazmat was called, and ultimately after the police got involved for vandalism the kids responsible fessed up and got community service hours. Good times. At a private Christian school, a girl in 12th grade got pregnant. According to the official rules, she was supposed to be expelled to protect the school's image. Instead, all the teachers and principals got together and decided that that's not what Jesus would do, and that the rule was idiotic. They didn't expel her and gave her all the support she needed during the pregnancy and after. In elementary school, all the boys got sent outside the last hour of class and lined up because someone had smeared their shit all over in the men's bathroom. I know now that they were looking at our fingernails because most kids aren't smart enough to clean under them. They told us to all hold out our hands and would send us back to class one by one after looking at them. Someone stole a urinal from one of the boys' bathrooms in high school. All year the principal went on about how if we knew anything we should come forward because we must stop the bathroom bandits. Of course no one came forward because once the bathroom bandits had a name they became legend. I never did find out who they were, but someone found the urinal 3 years later, hidden under some stairs behind the auditorium, a good distance from the bathroom it was taken from. One of the big 6 feet plus, tough, students who had a bit of a reputation as a bully and troublemaker decided he was going to try and intimidate one of the art teachers under the mistaken impression that just because Mr. Scott was only 5'5" in his socks and about 55 kgs wringing wet that Mr. Scott would be a pushover. He didn't know that before Mr. Scott trained to be a teacher, Mr. Scott was in the army, and whilst he was in the army Mr. Scott was the divisional weight champion for boxing in Australia. He tried to push Mr. Scott out of the way, and when that didn't work he tried to punch him. Mr. Scott punched him on the jaw and knocked him out. And before anyone says it was wrong, this was 1977, my school still had corporal punishment. Teachers could and did smack you round the head if you were being a dick. You certainly never ever laid a hand on a teacher. Talking back got you the cane or ruler. So that's why this was the biggest incident at my school. I've posted this before, but I figure these threads could always use some more positive stories. My high school was relatively free from bullying, but the biggest hullabaloo surrounded a mildly autistic student we had who was the subject of some tormenting from his classmates. Some jackoffs figured out they could make him lose his cool by repeatedly clicking their pens and then acting like they couldn't hear it. It got so bad he had to leave class crying. Our history teacher, whom the whole school liked, went on to become principal, went door to door in every classroom to explain to the students what was going on. Rather than talk about bullying, he simply told us that he had thought better of us and was very disappointed to be proven wrong. Sometime the next week someone was clicking the pens again to rile the poor student up when quarterback of our football stood up, walked over to the kid doing the clicking, took his pens, books, and backpack and threw it all in the garbage before returning to his seat. The English teacher leading the class acted like they hadn't seen a thing. The bullying stopped after that. Not a juicy scandal, but I figured I'd contribute a more positive story amidst all the student-teacher fucking. Kid managed to put a pencil through his foot in the middle of lunchtime. I was still in line and saw the entire cafeteria stand up and go running towards the windows. He'd apparently been trying to break the pencil by stepping on it, but instead managed to put it through his foot to the point where it came out the top. There was so much screaming. A girl in our school just disappeared one day. Rumors that she was pregnant, etc. Some glitch in the system had her on the honor roll every semester. They'd call her name in assembly every time. Well, I knew her, she wasn't pregnant, just dropped out, and when I told her her name kept getting called for honors, she thought it would be hilarious to actually show up and collect her gift cards. That was the prize. So she did, with a fake baby in her arms. Then spiked the baby on the stage. Damn Jess, you were nuts. I dated her for a few years in college. It went as expected, but that's another story. I want the college story. We were both 16. Her ex was 35. She learned a lot about sex from being his skettle. I was pretty much a virgin. My innocence extended to the point where I didn't notice her fucking half the school behind my back. That's pretty much it. You can extrapolate the rest. It's not an original story. The Battle of the Sexes. The teacher got fired that day because of what happened. She was supposed to be monitoring recess. I'm not really sure what prompted this, probably nothing, but there was an all-out boys versus girls war. I remember swinging from the handlebars at the top of the slide and kicking a girl in the face. She dropped like 9 feet. Not long after, 2 more girls came, each one grabbed one of my legs, and then just hopped off the ladder. I hit my jaw falling down and bit my tongue really bad. Lots of kids, including myself, had to go to the nurse. They cancelled school that day and had a meeting with the parents the following week. I know this is long, but this is some good shit. I accidentally became a meme in my 4,000 student high school after I was served a Category 3 suspension, 21 days for hacking. It started when I took a VB class my sophomore year. It was my first time doing any real coding outside of HTML, and it really opened up a world of possibilities. I got bored with binary conversion stuff and decided I would create something interesting. As a kid I thought, wouldn't it be funny, cool if I tricked people into giving me their Windows passwords? There was a few seniors in my VB class that constantly bullied me, so I figured this was a good way to get back at them. I recreated the Windows XP login screen, and set it so that the login button saved the username and password onto my network drive. It worked gloriously, except the kids in my class weren't dumb, so they would press Ctrl-Alt-Delete and realize it was just an app running. I found a VB script that restarted the computer, and called it whenever someone clicked login, so they reboot right back to the real login screen and not realize I had just stolen their password. To my surprise, it also disabled the CAD prompt, so even the techie guys didn't realize they were being baited. No one was able to tell any more, and my product was complete. I found I assumed a major Windows vulnerability using a stupid restart script in a phishing app. I was ready for the adrenaline. I went to the library after school and logged into all 10 to 20 computers, loaded my app, then quietly took a computer in the corner and quietly watched. by the end I had a notepad file with 30 username, password combinations. I even got passwords for some teachers. I felt like a god. I then logged into my bullies' accounts and deleted everything. Essays, homework assignments, whatever. Back then ytmnd.com was really popular and CS kids would use it to make fun of each other. It's basically a site where you can create a page using a GIF loop and audio, often to hilarious effect. Anyway, I got a picture of the worst of the bullies and used Dennis Leary's "I'm an Asshole" song as the backdrop, and then I put a link to that page in all of their network drives. The next day in class everyone was quiet. I felt the tension in the air and I couldn't have possibly been more smug with myself. I quietly sat a day down and did some work. I heard some whispering and then one of the guys started talking to himself. "Fuck, my essay is gone." I started to feel bad at that point, but there was no turning back. Everyone knew it was me, but nobody said a word to me. The YTMND page I made quickly got around and my point was firmly made. The shenanigans didn't end there, but to cut a long story short, I later hacked the network admin password by brute forcing the SAM file so I could unblock Flash game websites. Through all this tinkering, I didn't realize that I unlocked a network drive that only me and the network admin could see. I used it to store files when my own drive ran out of space, which obviously raised suspicion. He went through my drive and found a list of passwords, a program called Salmonside, and a bunch of other shady apps I created during my run. I was fucked. After an emotionally grueling interrogation by my asshole vice principal, they suspended me for 21 days and banned me from playing sports. Lol. I had been a straight A student my whole life and broke down thinking my life was over. Hilarious in retrospect, but I was a total mess. A week after my suspension, I'm chilling at home and a friend IMs me. "Dude, you're famous." "What?" He sends me a dozen links. Word got around in the school that I hacked the school, and people made websites in my honor. Free Aaron, Aaron for president, justice for Aaron. I became a meme and the whole school knew me by face, my picture Photoshop on picket signs and billboards in solidarity. Even my bullies came around and we all became good friends. When I came back from school after 21 days, everyone was expecting me. Random people waved to me in the hallways and I was still in a shock and in disbelief. There were flyers of me plastered in computer labs and in random corners in the hall. That was the incident that everyone talked about for years until I graduated. Edit: the fame quickly died down. No, I didn't get laid, no, I didn't get a job at Google, and if anything I was scared shitless from ever tinkering again, unfortunately. I also never particularly thought I was a hacker during any of this, since in one case it was phishing, and the other involved getting a hidden file and running it through a program. I definitely felt like a hacker though. Yes, I got into college fortunately, but never did computer stuff with the same enthusiasm. I'm a consultant now. You have been visited by one-eyed Blackjack the cat. Good health and treasure will come to you, but only if you reply, "Yo ho catty."